Good morning. My name is Yumi, and I am so pleased to be here today. This is my first scientific research conference, and the most I've understood have been incredibly scientific. My sincerest thank you to all of you for focusing your attention towards this mysterious form of muscular dystrophy, and thank you to the Jain Foundation for inviting me to be here in Toronto. So my patient story starts my sophomore year of college in the cheap seats of a concert. I wanted to see the stage, so I got up on my tippy toes and had the terrifying experience of nearly pitching forward. The next morning, I checked out my legs and found out that my left calf was nearly 2 inches thinner than my right. It made absolutely no sense, and I definitely couldn't get up on my toes. So I did what most college kids would do, and I called my mom. It was difficult explaining exactly what the issue was, but it kickstarted a series of doctor's appointments, specialist visits, where we discovered a small benign cyst on the S1, S2 level of my spine. And we thought that we explored this physical block as a possible reason for a perfectly healthy young person to be experiencing rapid atrophy and weakness in what I thought was an isolated part of my body. I spent that summer of 2000 prepping to have this removed until a consulting neurologist saved me from having spinal surgery by pulling me into the world of neuromuscular disorders. That's when I began seeing Dr. Carrie Levin at the Cleveland Clinic and learned there was no cure, no treatment, and no plan for Miyoshi myopathy. It was scary to think of what the future held for me. I grew up walking around with 2 brothers, playing sports, racing, wrestling each other, and now I was having a hard time stepping up a curb. Suddenly life was about just living in the right now. My ambitions and my goals were unchanged, and so it felt like it was me versus the muscular dystrophy. So I decided to fulfill a lifelong dream and move to New York City. The design studio that I worked for was in a lofted office space, so my employer installed a handrail, and otherwise I just tried not to trip. It was a good run, but a day came when all of my careful and deliberate steps couldn't keep up with the demands of living in a walking city. One day I needed to see an allergist way downtown, and during my appointment, there was a small trash can fire on one of the floors, and we needed to leave the building immediately. Elevators off limits. So this was a couple of years after 9/11, and this evacuation scenario still created a palpable level of fear. So with women crying and wailing in the stairwell, I had to climb down 11 flights of stairs, clearly unable to keep pace with everyone, and repeatedly apologizing. I have muscular dystrophy. Thankfully, a gentleman accompanied me down and made sure I made it out of the building. But neither he nor I anticipated that I would collapse to the sidewalk the moment he let me go. So I literally lived by the phrase, fall down 7 times, get up 8. But this time when I got up, I realized that it was time for a lifestyle change. I also began experiencing the first of what I call the peripheral symptoms of muscular dystrophy: an aching back, stiff shoulders, fatigue. And I chose to treat these discomforts with alternative medicine, acupuncture, massage, supplements. A cane could have helped mitigate some of these balance issues, but it took me 6 more years of falling and hanging onto other people's arms to finally get one. So clearly I didn't have a pattern of taking it easy on myself, and it got much worse when I became a parent. My definition of motherhood in those early years was physically unattainable, emotionally exhausting, and highly sacrificial. I truly feared that if I couldn't even pick up my babies to comfort them, then we wouldn't be able to bond. And wasn't it bad enough that I was selfishly putting them into this world already disadvantaged by a disabled mom? So during my first pregnancy, my balance was becoming increasingly compromised, so I transitioned to using a walker. I remember there was a lot of well-meaning but conflicting opinions about what I should expect regarding C-sections and epidurals, and I was actually assured that I'd be able to go back to using a cane post-birth. That didn't happen. And really all I wanted to do was find another mother with MD and have a conversation with her about how she managed an infant car seat. I asked my neurologist, my no one really had any answers. I distinctly remember feeling like the only woman on earth that wanted a baby and had muscular dystrophy. Now, thankfully, there are Facebook support groups for mothers with MD, but we still need an expert voice in that discussion and to make our collective pregnancy stories available, not just about safe childbirth, which is important, but also about preserving our bodies and strength. And I did figure out how to use them with the car seat. So minutes into motherhood, I was blindsided when the delivering OB commented to me while she was mending my episiotomy that I should really consider having my tubes tied now. Seriously, this happened, and no, I didn't listen because my awesome daughter was born 18 months later. But that insensitive doctor spoke my language of when push back harder, because by sheer will, determination, and a highly misguided ego, I dug my heels in and chose to use my precious strength to work and to be a mom. There were scary times when I would unexpectedly fall, or there was even stupider times when I would willingly throw my body on the floor and give a bath. Eventually, the repetitive use of my upper body to compensate for my legs contributed to several herniated discs in my neck. It took a steady diet of oxycodone, a series of unpleasant cervical neck injections, and non-stop prayer for me to knock off the stupidity and self-abuse. The name of the game now is self-preservation. In 2009, I began boggling brains everywhere I went, and I became a seated Segway user. I love the Segway. The independence, the agility, the speed, it was liberating. And if I'm really honest, I was so disconnected from patient life that this was my way of gaining motorized mobility while avoiding a power chair. Besides the convenience of getting everyday tasks accomplished, an underlying benefit was the near constant engagement of my core muscles to ride it. And I managed to maintain, an unexpected amount of strength there. One of the other major muscles that you need to ride a Segway are your hip flexors, but unfortunately, mine are no longer cooperating. This is the gray area of mobility that I've been living in. I've been navigating the road of acquiring a power chair, yet still believe that I have some time left to be on my feet. Honestly, it doesn't matter how many years you have to prepare. Losing the ability to walk is not an easy conversation to have with yourself. So how amazing was it that during this confusing time of yet another cycle of loss, that I would get an invitation to a 2B patient conference. I had never met anyone else that had this besides my younger brother Andy. And I didn't know it at the time, but the 2B Empowered Conference would be a catalyst for a long overdue transformation in my life. Last spring, I had the pleasure of meeting the entire Jain Foundation team. And a wonderful group of patients I gathered in Dallas, Texas. I had no idea what to expect, but it became apparent when I segued into that conference room that a community had gathered. I am not alone. We are all connected. Our journeys are not the same, but we have the common goal of how do we make the most of our lives with this disability that we don't know how to get rid of. And we aren't just found together by a 2B diagnosis, but the fact that each and every one of us invested and showed up. To the outer world, we may look weak in body, but we share an inner strength that is undeniable. In one weekend, my conversation shifted from denying my muscular dystrophy to embracing it. We have all been challenged in mind, body, and spirit, and here we are. Recently, I've been volunteering with the Jain Foundation to organize the second patient conference. We have an opportunity to set the dialogue of what we need, of what is working and what is missing from our care. We are clearly a rare and clever bunch, so what would happen if we committed to gathering, supporting, and sharing our collective wisdom with each other? For me, because there was no specific recommended therapy, my self-prescribed plan of exercise has always been simple. Just keep moving. Although it's much easier to follow in my early years, these days it's a trickier order to follow. So I've modified it a bit to add no to rest. So my husband, Simon, is here with me, and he has been a huge source of support. He shares his muscles over my neck, and he shows me patience when I have none left, and reminds me to be kind to myself when I'm frustrated by my limits. So, not only is he super kind and has a generous heart, but he's pretty smart too. So we solve all sorts of problems one at a time as we navigate this tricky life together. We also have 2 children, 5-year-old Caleb and 3-year-old Sophia, and they are our little bright lights. We've had a lot of help and not enough sleep in the years since they've been born. But one of the best surprises of parenthood is how helpful toddlers have to be. It's a good thing too, because they've been known to transfer laundry and sweep up crumbs after their meals. Another best feeling is when I'm standing at my walker and they see me, and they'll come running. They'll trust that they'll slow down just in time to gently wrap their arms around my legs for our version of a hug. So a couple of weeks ago, my son Caleb asked me to explain to him in detail when my muscles started becoming tired. Were you a kid? No, I was in college. So, big kid. Yeah, pretty much. We had a short powwow at the dinner table that night talking about dysferlin and how we're not sure where mine is. So I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back for attempting to discuss the basics of DNA with a kindergartner. So I don't know what the typical life of a 2B patient looks like. We just try our best to modify life around us to accommodate my progression. We celebrate the moments of strength and mourn the loss of ability. But even in my moments of temporary defeat, I hope that you all understand that I take immense comfort in knowing that each and every one of you, in your own way, is working tirelessly to attack TB. In your moments of frustration, just remember, fall down 7 times, get up 8. I cannot wait to see the brilliant new therapies that you all come up with. In the meantime, I'll be busy as well with relentlessly pursuing life. Thank you.